Hey, what's up, card fighters? So I'm here. Ooh, let me mute that. So I'm here to commentate another one of my games with GRAMGRACE that I had. In this one, I'm fighting against ROROWA. Now, this is like the designated ROROWA player at the Versus Games locals in the Oviedo Mall. Go ahead and check them out if you are in the area. Pretty sweet shop. But this is the designated ROROWA player. Like this guy almost always consistently tops with ROROWA just because he's a really smart and technical player, in my opinion, at least. At least from what I've seen, like in the matches that I have fought up against him, like in and outside of locals. So this is actually like a really like intense match, at least in my opinion, of course. Maybe I should speed this up a little bit more. I didn't want to like do the zoom too much, but yeah, just a little bit more. We are shuffling quite a bit, but you know we don't want to break, of course. But yeah, Heroic just got like a lot of new support in set 8, and we were just like kind of talking about it and how he felt about the support. He said he more or less appreciates the support, but it's not as good as it could have been, and he more or less has to play the deck like the way he's been playing the deck as like a really aggressive rush deck, arguably one of like the most aggressive decks in the game right now, just because just like not like the freeness of the board and the fact that it can create like 4 attacks on turn 2. But go ahead and get this hand going. I don't remember who went first, or I do believe I won the die roll, and I decided to keep my hand. Yeah, I did win the die roll. And because I did win the die roll in this specific matchup, I'm just able to basically like deny his ride line. So he's swinging at me for 13. The other column's also going to be 13, but I do check a defensive trigger, which shuts off his rush. So we go ahead and pitch for ride. We get so this is like one of those cool interactions. Hold on, let me pause it real quick. This is one of those cool interactions I was talking about. To whereas, hold on. So this is one of those cool interactions to whereas that's not fast enough. Never mind. That like I top decked the hammer chick, and because she was called to rearguard by an ability, if I didn't want to like mitigate his rush on the next turn or make him spend more cards to rush, I could have just like instead of using Blaster Dark to get Twin Drive, I could have kept the Interceptor and got a really nice a soft +1 to field and a hard +1 to hand, because Sadie, when she's called by an ability, you could CB1 and you get to draw a card, and then I probably would just vanilla swung at the Vanguard. But I did want the Twin Drive, and I did want to retire his board essentially, just to turn off his ride line, basically. But let's go on to the rest of the match. Just thinking about whether or not I would want to commit a card. I do decide to commit a grade 2. I was thinking about committing a grade 1. Oh no, I think I do. Yeah, I do. So in this scenario, this is just what I really like about Menacing Tiger in this list, just cuz like it's like both of its effects are just really clutch in certain scenarios, to whereas like normally your Blaster Dark would be 15k shield 2 to pass. Now I could turn my Blaster Dark into a 15 with Twin Drive, and they're more likely not to guard that attack or 1 to pass it. I have been 1 to pass. But, you know, checking the double trigger in that scenario is just very clutch. He's going to ride up. And because we did take care of his rear guards, he is not going to be able to get the 2 free tokens, but he is going to use a really cool new support card that when it is retired, if you have a Glitter Vanguard, give 10k to a token unit. So this token unit's actually like really strong. It's going to be swinging for 25, I believe. Oh no, 20, because it's at 5k. So it's going to be swinging for 20, and then she's going to be swinging for 30. We opted to guard the first attack and then just take the following. We're going to activate GRAMGRACE off the rip, no reason not to. And then Sadie, just so that we're going to be able to draw a card, keep up our card advantage. I don't. Maybe I do make another column. Yeah, I choose to call a front row rear guard just because he is still on two. I'm not be able. I can't. I don't have another back row in this scenario, but hopefully we do draw into one. That is a heal, which makes this column able to hit past the trigger, and then we do get a crit. So we're gonna give the power to the other lane, even though it can already hit past the defensive. Really good in this scenario because he didn't check any defensives on those first two swings, and this is going to be 25 and the other column's 33, which I do believe he checks a 6 damage heal, or he guards them. No, he just opts to hard guard both. And he was just reading GRAMGRACE because obviously it's a new card and it has like 3 separate abilities that are really good in my opinion. Like the fact that you could persona ride the back row as well as the front row is just very clutch, and the fact that I got him on like such low cards is also very clutch in this first game. Just getting those key triggers and keeping like that advantage. I do believe GRAMGRACE is a very solid deck, to be honest. It could be like low-key like a sleeper slash rogue deck because of like you could play it more aggressively than let's say like a Youthberg, which would be like slightly stronger, slightly more consistent, but you do have like a better pushing power, I would say, at least in the early. Checks nothing on those drive checks, and then I check a front trigger, which is just like really bad for him because he can't use the dragon to swing into the rears because I got a front trigger. So he's gonna swing into the rears with that. I'm okay with that because I have another one in hand, so it's not that big of a deal. And then he's gonna swing in with I believe to my other rear guard. Yeah, I do believe. Do I guard this? I do, because I don't have another guide. We don't have the persona ride here, but that's pretty much fine considering our opponent's cards. He does have 15k shield on board, which is slightly annoying, but because we caught our opponent on such low cards, we can pretty much just like blow on him and he dies. So we're going to swing for the 13 first. I do believe he won to passes. Yeah, he won to passes. And we check a heal trigger and nothing. He also checks a heal trigger, so now he's at... So we're going to swing 15 at the rear guard. Draw. We didn't have any more targets, so just creating a 15k attacker with like regular triggers is just very clutch. I think I was deciding on whether or not I wanted to countercharge, but I chose to keep the interceptor in this case scenario because I didn't have any hammer girls in my hand. And he does make it to his next turn, which again, that's what I was preparing for because he survived. That this turn is probably gonna be his last turn, so he's gonna try and like go for like a really big push. Which getting another set order just means that's 10k to the back row, or like his token units in the back row. And he was checking, and he seems to have run out of Raylina targets. So he's just going to shuffle it up real quick. I actually don't think ROROWA is that bad of a deck. I think it's a pretty good deck to run in a best of one format because of like its pushing power. Like when he Superior calls that grade 3 Raylina for the last attack, she's like 43, like 53, like some obnoxious number that you're just not prepared for, to be honest. So he says 23, but this is actually 28. But of course he's gonna give the power to that guy. But I believe he does a misplay here because he didn't realize he had no soul. So he's just gonna have to swing at a rear guard of Raylina, and then he's gonna get the grade 3 Raylina for the final attack, I believe. Which I think I just take it. No, yeah, I stand it up, but then he does the final attack, which is like 43 something, like 53. But I decided just to take it. So we're going to stand up. Again, we don't have Persona Ride, but in this like game state, we don't really need Persona Ride. Like just this is like enough to push our opponent because we make really nice numbers everywhere. The weakest attack is the Vanguard swing. Swing for 23. She uses 3 tokens. He was just checking. Yeah, she's an 8k. That's like a 13k attacker. That's like the nicest card in this deck right now. That's just like helps me make like really good columns. Also with the guide, I know you could play Cadwalla. I was trying Cadwalla in the deck, but I just found like without Persona Red, my numbers really weren't that nice. So the grade 1 13k booster attacker really helps, and the guide really helps too because when he's boosted, he gets 5k. So obviously for this next match, he's gonna go first. We were just like talking about how like bad that match was, and I was just telling him like, hey man, like I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it to you that bad. But I was talking over him with about the ROROWA deck. He's obviously like not as pleased as he would like to be about the new support, just because like he has to run like a lot of grade 3s without shield to make his version of the deck work, which is understandable to be honest. But I do still believe the deck has like a really like an insane amount of pushing power. Like I was able to stop him, but because he's going first this time, I'm not going to be able to stop his rush. So he's actually going to get me to like a decent amount of damage in the early, I believe. I was just trying to help him out there with the ride line and the tokens. Got a little bit lost in the sauce here on the shuffle. Alright, finally we get the cut, and we're going to draw our 5 cards. I actually do have Persona right here, which is very clutch. I do believe, yeah, I just put 1 card back, which was the trigger, and I do believe I draw into another trigger. And I put his red deck on the wrong side of his mat, which he actually has like a really nice mat. I don't remember who makes this mat, but I have seen it on the Facebook groups. I was just trying to like take the air out of my sleeve, because I do believe my ride line is triple sleeved. Going second. Now, did I decide to commit a grade 1 here and rush, or did I decide to just swing? Yeah, we're just swinging. I don't think we have another grade 1 to rush with. Speaking of rush, he's getting off his really good turn 2 play. That new grade 1 is going to make that a 20 against my 8. That's very annoying. I do believe, yeah, I guard the Vanguard because it's the weakest swing this turn. They do get a crit, so he's gonna obviously put the. He gave the crit to her. I take it. I get an over trigger, which just shuts down the rest of his turn. Which it was actually beneficial for him that he did give the crit to Raylina, because if he didn't, he wouldn't have dealt me any damage this turn, and that just would have stifled his rush completely. Of course, I decided to pop the Raylina. There's really nothing else on board that's worth popping. Decided to call the Tiger here to give 5k to the Vanguard, just to push. If anything, it could swing into a rear guard if it can't hit, which it ends up not hitting. He gives the power to the Vanguard because I think he assumes that he didn't know whether or not that rear guard could hit, so that's why I was able to just get rid of the other token, which doesn't really matter too much in the long run, just because he gets 3 for a Soul Blast, but he does have to expend that extra resource to get that 3 now. Alright, we're gonna cut him up. Just calls out the grade 2 Raylina, and yep, he Soul Blast 2, call his 3 tokens. Yeah, he just swings here. He doesn't want to give up his resources just to beef his token up. Which I get a defensive front, which is just really good for me, because he can't attack my Vanguard and he can't hit my rear guard either. The token is 20, which I do believe I guard this because the Raylina is going to be 30. Yeah, the Raylina is going to be 30. Which is actually really beneficial for him that he didn't really expend like too many resources on this turn, because naturally, because of the set order, the token was gonna hit my Vanguard because they were both 10. But I get a defensive heal, which again just shuts down his rush. I'm gonna go ahead and go straight for the GRAMGRACE here. Usually that's the play that you do want to start off with if you are counterblasting the turn. It just makes the most sense just because it helps you dig. Especially if you have the hammer trick, it just helps you dig 2 extra cards before you call anything else. I'm going to give the 5k to my Vanguard just so it's not just a 15k 2 to pass. So we're going to swing with the 18. So this is actually really nice. We have an 18k column, a 23k column, and 25k column. So no triggers there, but we are going to swing in with the countercharger. We're not going to get any countercharge off. That's fine. We just called her to make the column. Okay, he uses the trigger. I do believe we choose to swing 23 first in case he gets a defensive, because if he gets a defensive, then we'll just swing 25 at the Raylina. Get our draw off of GRAMGRACE, and we're passing the turn. And because like we were just able to get key damage triggers to stifle his aggression, we're in a pretty primed position here to whereas we're not too worried that we're gonna die. I'm just more or less trying to see how I can set up my next turn optimally. He swings for 33. I do believe we take it. He gets a heal trigger, which is very clutch for him. He goes down to 3. And he gets an inlet pulse. We're going to damage. We're not getting any triggers there. Inlet swings for 33, if I'm not mistaken, which I do decide to take here. And we get a heal trigger because he healed, which resolves, which again stifles his rush. An effective way to clean up our board to because I do believe we have another maple in the drop zone, so that's why we cleaned up our board that way. We take this Raylina hit, and again I do believe I forgot about the last girl, which I do just opt to take it and go to 5 to just heal block him, I believe. Or it was just too big for me even with the defensive. Yeah, we had the 2 maples. That's why we chose to guard that way instead of just dropping a 15 or a 20. So we're going to use the GRAMGRACE. Draw. And we're going to call it GRAMGRACE just because it makes nice numbers here. And I do believe I either have a Chalice or a second GRAMGRACE in hand. And that's why we ended up just calling the GRAMGRACE to rear guard. We're going to call over to make a better column. That's 2848, I believe, and then the other column is 1838. And my Vanguard's 23. Again, your Vanguard's always going to be your weakest attack no matter what, most of the time. Which now both these columns are 48. We're going to hit him with 33, which is just a 15 here because he did get that defensive. But he is going to use one of his tokens. Shove it to soul, get our draw. I'm going to swing 48 here. And he does get a heal, so that pushes him to 33 versus our 48. But that's still a 20k guard, which he just uses his other. And that's the end of our turn. He does Persona Ride, so that's going to help him mount like a very good offense. But I do believe we have, just because of those defensives, and you could see here a little bit from my hand shuffling that we are able to rack up at least a formidable sized hand to defend against this turn. But he doesn't really have that many resources to play with here. Okay, so he calls the plant tokens. He retires 2 to give 10k, and he calls Relina and Inlet Pulse. So he's gonna swing here for 33. Yeah, 33, I believe. I do perfect guard this. He's gonna swing for 33 again. Oh no, he's gonna swing with the token first. I do just double intercept. It was just 20. It wasn't that big. Oh no, I believe he misplayed here. It was actually 25. He told me 20. And it was actually 25, and he was talking about that earlier, how that probably would have mattered. I don't know for sure if that would have mattered or not. Oh, I think it would have. It would have, because I had exactly... Oh no. What was that last card in my hand? Oh no, I had a Menacing Tiger. So I still would have been able to guard. I just top decked Persona Ride. We're gonna use Menacing Tiger. So this is gonna be 28 at the Vanguard. He perfect guards. We get a critical trigger. We're gonna give all effects to Maple. We get a critical trigger. We're gonna give all effects to Menacing Tiger. So this is like 46 with a crit. The other one's like 48 with a crit. And it's just like a very unfortunate situation for him, just because, again, he has such low resources. He did get a heal, but they were both double crit. So that's pretty much the end of my match with ROROWA. It was just very unfortunate for him, because his deck is a very aggressive deck, and he has to play that way. He can't really like play any other way, because I was just like so much, my deck just generates more advantage than him. His advantage is generated to board, but then it's used to feed his skills, so he can't really use it adequately to defend, or at least I would say, in my opinion. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Tell me what you think about the commentated videos, if you like them or not. And don't forget, we are selling our channel mat. Don't forget to either DM me on Facebook Messenger. We do accept PayPal and Cash App. You would have to, the buyer pays shipping fees, and you would also email if you do not have Facebook. I know some people told me that they don't have Facebook, so you could also contact me at the channel email. All the information is going to be down below. But anyways, guys, later.